Hello, and hope you're staying warm and safe out there. In this video, I'm going to do a little demonstration on using InDesign and making the business card. This way you can really see how that grid and alignment thing works. Now, remember, you can do this in another program if you want, if you're a little uncomfortable, but you can get InDesign free from our IT help desk. You can get, and I have instructions on how to do this on the course syllabus, so you can get free Adobe products. And if you're struggling, we'll work around that. But this is the industry standard. So really, you're better off working with InDesign. And that's what we're going to do. Here you go. What we have is I've already have my InDesign. You open it up, there it is for this project. File, new document, and you can customize any number of templates. One thing InDesign does, and I hate it, defaults to points and picas to measure things. We'll get to that when we do typography, but in the short run, and basically I always leave it like this, we measure in inches. And then your business card is 3.5 by 2 inches. Sideways or vertical, you saw some vertical versions in the last demonstration, or you could, but most of the time a business card is a horizontal layout. One column, one big thing. Now, when we get to magazines, we can lay our magazines and newspaper, we can lay things out in 5 and 6 columns, but we'll leave it for 1 for here. Margins, no margins. We're just leaving the full thing because we're not printing these out. Okay, ta-da! Here is the business card. Now, what we can do is, again, we're working with grids. View, grids and guides. And there is document grid. Here's all the grids you need. You can also use a baseline grid, which gives you those blue ones to work with, but they're only the horizontal grids. They don't give you vertical grids. And so I will live without those for this assignment. And one thing you can make it do, I won't do this time, is what we call a snap to grid. That means when you make a box, it will automatically line up to your grids. So that's something we can do. I'll live without it this time because it may not be perfect. I'll get rid of those. Hide baseline. Okay. Just use our basic document grid. So we have vertical and horizontal modules. Now, there's lots of bells and whistles in InDesign. People do all sorts of wild things with it. Just to start to cut through the stuff. And I do have posted InDesign intro videos if you want to see them, but I'm going to cut through a lot of the more complicated things and just get going. Okay, here's the basics. I set up the card, and here we have our text tool And here's our picture tool. We'll just be using text this week, but that's really most of what you're doing, and your arrows. This is the move arrow, and this is the internal content arrow. But anyway, here is, we'll start with the text box, because that's all we're doing is text. And you notice, hold and pull, we'll line it up to here. And you notice, oh, maybe one. 2 grids there, 2 grids there, the box is centered. So, and within the box, we can start typing. Text tool again. You notice how it's holding it to the top of the box, holding my type. You can object, and this is a weird place they do it, text frame options. You can align it to the center of the box vertically, and I'll do that like that, and we'll make it See, when we have a red box on InDesign, that means there's not enough room. So I will make this 20 points, and you can type that in. Ta-da. And in graphic design, you could add extra characters, extra type to fill the box. You can also align it center to make it truly centered. So you have those options. This is, let's just make this really line up with, there it is. All really lined up with our grids. A fine thing. Now, and I'm going to flush this left rather than center. Now, remember we were talking about how vertical spaces keep things together? What I might do within the box, we'll make another box. Line it up. Pull it in. Okay, it's all lined up. Go to T for text. Okay. We can center them both or line them up. I kind of like it like that. And another thing too, what we can do, you notice the two lines are about a grid apart. I can overlap and pull them together a little bit more and keep them about a grid apart. That looks pretty good because this is just over the line and this is just under it, about a grid apart. You know, those things are together. Now we can do the next part. And we'll make this a grid and a half apart for our content. Okay, name, address, and phone. Now, see how this is nicely lined up here? And these things are one grid. This is a grid and a half. Let us maybe move this just a little further down. Yeah, because you see from the bottom of the P to the top of the N, that's 2 grids. Then you know it's different. This is 1 grid, this is 2 grids. They're different things. Now, I could pull this way over here, line up our grids, and I could make it, make these text tool and flush them right. And while our boxes are lined up, our type really isn't. So if I did that, I'd line it up with pretty much that end of the E. Line up that way. And if we're going to do 2 more grids, and if I'm going to have one little tagline, line up my boxes. And okay. Okay. See how it looks like this is similar to name, address, and phone? We can do a little bit. We could object, text frame, align to the bottom of the box. That gives us a little bit of space between them. But altogether, this is a little closer than this. We need them to be even. So we can move this up. And this is not like rocket science. Doesn't have to be perfect. And this is from here to here. That's just a grid and a quarter. From here to here, that's 2 grids. So we move it down just a scooch. And this is 1.5, 1, a little bit more. It's a little bit more. Ideally, we'd have more grids to work with. Now, what I can do, let's see if it gave us some more grids. Let's view, see if this baseline grid give me more. Nope. View document grid where we were. View nah, it doesn't help. But still, it's all pretty well lined up. Now I can go back down here and maybe center this within the box. But then it looks like it's a little out of line and lost. Oh, that's my card. So for organization's sake, everything is pretty well lined up. So this is, and you know what? The best way to do alignment with this, frankly, is to, the neatest way, flush these left and pull this box with the arrow. Here. Yeah, pull it down just a hair. Okay. And this empty space, you can use a picture, you can do whatever. The bottom line is to use the boxes to align things so you know what things are together. Another way to do this, we can make this smaller. Yeah. We get a little fancy and make this bold to pull your attention to the bottom of the page. Might then make this bold. I probably would. Yes, see, bold, light, name, address, phone, dominant element. Remember we talked about that. Always good to have a dominant element. Bold, a little light, so you know this explains this. They are together. More space here says this is different. Same space here, same space there. Ta-da. Simple. That's all we're looking for in this particular case. Lining things up simply and straightforward. So just to get your feet wet, this is all we're doing this week. Simple business card. You can get a little bit more fancy if you want, but these are the basics that I really want you to look at. And these make a difference when we do your, when we start looking at the resumes, and that is our next video. All right.